Guys, I can't remember a Chargers preseason where the roster felt like it was in this much motion. And not just small changes, I'm talking big swings, major shifts, and storylines popping up at positions we thought were locked just a month ago. When we sat down before training camp and made that first 53-man roster prediction, I thought it was in decent shape. Now, that list has been chewed up, spit out, and taped back together. Injuries, new signings, surprise standouts. It's all shifted the picture. What's up, Chargers fans? Welcome to the NFL Playbook Chargers. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. This channel is all about breaking down everything you need to know about the Bolts. This upcoming preseason game against the Rams is about as important as an August game gets for this team. Not because of the scoreboard, because of who's playing, how they're being used, and what that means for the depth chart going into the final stretch of camp. The fact that Jim Harbaugh is rolling out the bulk of his starters tells you how seriously they're treating them. And remember, this decision came after the Rams canceled our joint practice to go work with the Saints. We could have tried to plug in another team, but the Chargers just chose to move on from the idea completely. With the injury list still too long for comfort, I can understand why. Still, Harbaugh wants those live reps, and with no joint practice, this is the only chance before cut-down day to get those starters into a live competitive situation. That's why you're going to see Justin Herbert take his first ever preseason snaps. That's right, Herbert is playing. Derwin James and Khalil Mack will sit, but the rest of the first-team offense will be out there, including Keenan Allen, every running back, and most of the starting offensive line. They'll get at least one series, maybe two if the first drive is short. And yes, my first instinct was the same as a lot of you. Please, football gods, no more injuries. We've already lost Rashawn Slater to IR, Mike Williams to retirement for the season, and Najee Harris to NFI. One more hit to a key starter would feel brutal. But past that, there's a real opportunity here to settle some questions that have been hanging over this roster for weeks. One of the biggest questions is the offensive line. With Mekhi Becton still sidelined, he hasn't practiced in over 2 weeks. We're looking at Bradley Bozeman as the starting center, Zion Johnson at left guard, Joe Alt at left tackle, and Trey Pipkins at right tackle. Becton's absence means swing tackle is still unsettled. Branson Taylor's finally back at practice after being cut and re-signed. Corey Stewart has quietly done some good things in the preseason, and the team brought in David Sharp for depth. Sharp has started NFL games at right tackle, but not since 2021, and he's never taken a game snap at guard. He's played a handful as a sixth lineman in heavy sets, but nothing that screams versatility. If Becton's not ready for week 1, that backup tackle spot gets even more important. Receiver rotation is another big storyline going into this Rams game. Based on Daniel Popper's reports, the starting 3 and 11 personnel are shaping up as Quentin Johnston at the X, Ladd McConkey in the slot, and Allen at the Z. Keenan's been working heavily on in-breaking routes, and McConkey's been that reliable middle-of-the-field option we hoped he'd be. Keandre Lambert-Smith has been getting his first slot reps of camp this week, which is interesting, but he's in a competition with Trey Harris for snaps. Harris hasn't shown much separation in the preseason games, which Popper has pointed out, but maybe having Herbert back there changes that dynamic. When your quarterback is capable of hitting the backside of the concept, taking deep shots, and threading those cover 2 hole throws, it can change how a receiver runs his route. Then there's the tight end room. We haven't seen much of them in the passing game this preseason. The few targets they've had have mostly been checkdowns to Ron Gadsden. His role will be interesting to track when Tyler Conklin and Will Dissly are both on the field. Is he a package guy? Does he rotate in with the starters? Or is he someone they bring along more slowly during the season? And what about Tucker Fisk? One of the best blocking tight ends in camp and a perfect fit for Greg Roman's offense. He should make the roster, but with a fullback like Scott Matlock also in the mix, keeping 4 tight ends gets tricky. Running back feels more straightforward at the top. Amari Hampton is RB1, and I think he'll get most of the touches with the starters against the Rams. Greg Roman said they'll rotate backs, but I don't expect a true committee. More like a few change-of-pace snaps here and there. Behind Hampton, Kamani Vidal's value on special teams is huge. He's on the first team for punt, kick return, and more. Hassan Haskins is steady, has been healthy, and actually leads the group in yards after contact per attempt. He doesn't get talked about as much because he's not flashy, but he's been solid. Rocket Sanders has flashed, but he's raw. Nyheim Hines has speed and excellent pass protection, but ball security is a problem after 2 fumbles. With Harris out, the door's open for movement, but right now, it feels like Hampton, Vidal, and Haskins are the safest. Quarterback is another spot to watch. Trey Lance has probably edged ahead of Taylor Heineke for QB2, based on preseason play, though he's dealing with a hand injury. Harbaugh has been calling it an open competition all camp, but I think it was leaning Lance before the injury. If he's healthy enough to play, we'll see if he's the first guy in after Herbert against the Rams. If not, Heineke will get those reps, but that might not reflect the real depth chart. Defensively, this secondary rotation has been telling. Tarheeb still looks like the top corner on this roster, moving between outside and slot, but primarily outside opposite Dante Jackson. Benjamin St-Juste has worked into first-team reps after missing time earlier in camp, and the coaches love his size and physicality. Cam Hart's injuries have slowed his momentum, and Dean Leonard has missed enough time that rookie Nico Reed could pass him if he keeps flashing in games and on special teams. And yes, Sir Taylor is safe. He's not going to start, but as the team's best gunner, he's basically untouchable in Ficken's eyes. Safety-wise, it's Alohi Gilman, James, Elijah Molden, and rookie R.J. Mickens as the core 4. But I think Tony Jefferson has earned a 53-man spot. He's been one of the most impactful defenders in the preseason. He's playing special teams now, and with James spending so much time in the slot, Jefferson is essentially safety 3. The linebackers are solid with Denzel Perryman in the middle, Deion Henley bringing range, and Junior Colson still developing. Troy Dye is another core special teamer, and UDFA Marlo Wax has been a preseason standout. His problem is numbers. If Delshon Phillips returns and they only keep 5 linebackers, Wax could be the odd man out despite great play. Up front, Khalil Mack, Tuli Tuipulotu, and Bud Dupree are your top 3 edge rushers. Justin Eboigbe is safe, but Caleb Murphy has made a serious push. He's been disruptive, plays special teams, and is close to a lock. That puts pressure on Kyle Kennard, who hasn't quite put it together yet, and rookie Morris Brash, who's had some good moments. The defensive tackle group has been better than expected. Otito Ogbonnia is running with the first team alongside Deshaun Hand and Tear Tart. Jamari Caldwell has had strong moments. Naquan Jones has looked good, and Eboigbe's been rotated inside too. We could keep 6 here, but with how tight the roster is, that would mean cutting good players elsewhere. The real big picture takeaway here is that we have more legitimate NFL caliber players than roster spots. On offense, injuries have created needs that force you to carry depth at certain spots. On defense, you've got special teams contributors who also bring defensive value. And Harbaugh is using these preseason games, especially this Rams matchup, to get answers in live situations, not just on the practice field. For me, here's what I'm watching against the Rams. Does Becton get back on the field to help settle tackle depth? How exactly do the receivers rotate when Herbert's out there? Do the tight ends get more than a token target or 2? Does Murphy's play force a change in the edge group? And which of the bubble players on defense can help themselves most on special teams? This game isn't about the scoreboard. It's about locking in who's going to be part of the 53 when week 1 kicks off. And right now, the competition is fierce. That's a good problem to have. Why not us? But it's still a problem the coaching staff has to solve over the next couple of weeks.